The winds of change are blowing through Montreal, and they carry with them a name that has simultaneously represented enormous promise and devastating heartbreak since the moment he arrived on St. Catharines Street. Kirby Dach, a player who, when healthy, flashes a kind of elite-level ability that makes every single person in the Bell Center lean forward in their seats. A player who, when injured, leaves a void that cannot be easily filled and a question mark that grows louder with every setback. And now, according to a prominent Edmonton analyst, the Oilers are being urged to make their move, to gamble on the former third overall pick, while Montreal quietly weighs its options at the most complicated position on the roster. Let's be brutally honest about where things stand, because the story deserves honesty more than it deserves careful diplomacy. Kirby Dach's offseason in Montreal has been, by any fair assessment, a turbulent one. He rejected the Canadiens' two-way qualifying offer, filed for salary arbitration, and ultimately settled on a one-year, $3.6 million contract that avoided a formal hearing, but left a very noticeable chill in the relationship between player and organization. One-year deals at that price point, reached through the grinding machinery of arbitration negotiations, rarely signal a partnership moving confidently toward a long-term future together. They signal a crossroads. They signal two sides that haven't yet agreed on what this relationship is worth or where it is going. For a franchise as carefully constructed as the Montreal Canadiens under Kent Hughes, that kind of uncertainty has consequences. Every dollar on the salary cap matters. Every roster spot carries weight. And every player signed to a one-year deal is essentially broadcasting that their future beyond the season remains an open question. Now enter Edmonton analyst Alan Mitchell, who made the case publicly and directly that Stan Bowman should be on the phone to Hughes about exactly the situation. The argument Mitchell makes is rooted in undeniable talent. Kirby Dach was the third overall pick in 2019. He is 6'4" and 221 pounds. He moves at the 94th percentile in skating speed, according to NHL Edge data. When healthy and rolling, his offensive metrics are genuinely impressive. 1.09 goals per 60 minutes, 1.77 points per 60, and a 50% goal share that reflects genuine two-way value at even strength. These are not the numbers of a player who has failed. These are the numbers of a player whose career has been savagely interrupted at precisely the moments when he appeared ready to take the next step. The injury history, however, cannot be minimized or glossed over, because it is a defining feature of his Montreal tenure and the central risk factor in any trade discussion. Since arriving with the Canadiens, Dach has appeared in just 154 of a possible 328 regular season games. Last season alone, a fractured foot limited him to 37 appearances, extending a pattern of absences that has made it virtually impossible for Martin St. Louis to build consistent line mates around him or develop the on-ice chemistry that turns talented individuals into a genuinely dangerous unit. Think about that number carefully. Fewer than half of possible regular season games played since coming to Montreal. For a team entering what should be a genuine Stanley Cup contention window, that availability issue is not a minor concern. It is a fundamental obstacle to building the kind of reliable, dependable second line that pushes a team from Eastern Conference finalist to Stanley Cup champion. And yet, and this is the part that makes this story genuinely complicated and genuinely fascinating, the talent is absolutely real. Mitchell's suggestion that Dach could function as a second-line center for the Oilers, running strong-side faceoffs while McDavid and Draisaitl dominate from above, is tactically sound. Edmonton runs one of the most offensively dominant top lines in NHL history when those two are locked in together. Adding a 6'4" center with speed and skill to the second unit would give the Oilers a terrifying amount of offensive threat across their top six, creating matchup nightmares that opposing coaches would lose sleep over preparing for. The personal element that Mitchell raises adds another layer of intrigue. Edmonton recently signed Kirby's younger brother Colton to a 2-year extension after acquiring him from Chicago. Both brothers grew up just outside Edmonton as Oilers fans. The emotional pull of a reunion in their hometown, playing alongside each other on a legitimate Stanley Cup contender, is the kind of human story that transcends salary cap math and trade package calculations. It is real. It is powerful, and it absolutely factors into how a player evaluates his options when a move becomes a realistic possibility. From Montreal's perspective, the calculus is equally clear and equally complicated. Nick Suzuki is the unquestioned first-line center, locked in long-term, and developing into one of the best captains in the franchise's modern era. Behind him, the organizational pipeline at center includes a tantalizing, not-yet-arrived Michael Hage, who projects as a future top-six presence once he completes his development trajectory. The question Kent Hughes must answer is whether carrying Dach to the 2026-27 season on a one-year deal, with a very real possibility of losing him to unrestricted free agency in 2027 without compensation, represents the best use of a roster spot that could otherwise generate meaningful trade return right now. The answer, when framed that way, leans toward moving him. Montreal is unlikely to command a massive return given the injury history, and that reality must be acknowledged openly. Mitchell's suggested package of a 2027 second-round pick and either Ty Emberson or Alex Regula is the kind of modest but reasonable return that reflects honest market evaluation for a talented but fragile forward entering the final year of a modest contract. Hughes would not be trading from strength here. He would be trading intelligently, converting an uncertain asset into guaranteed future capital before its value potentially evaporates entirely. The Oilers, sitting on just under $5 million in cap space, according to current projections, have the financial flexibility to absorb Dach's $3.6 million hit without significantly disrupting the rest of their roster construction. For a franchise that spent enormous resources reshaping their lineup this offseason, adding a high-upside forward at that price point represents genuine value if the medical reports come back clean. This is the part of the story that will ultimately determine everything. What the doctors say. If Edmonton's medical staff evaluates Dach and projects a sustainable, healthy future based on his current physical condition and the nature of his past injuries, Bowman should move aggressively and close this deal before another team enters the conversation. If the reports raise concerns about chronic vulnerability, then the modest asking price suddenly looks less like a bargain and more like an invitation to repeat the same painful cycle that has frustrated Montreal fans for 3 seasons. The broader question for Habs Nation is one that cuts deeper than any single trade decision. Is Kirby Dach a foundational piece of Montreal's Stanley Cup future, a player worth protecting, developing, and building around despite the injury concerns? Or has the accumulated evidence of the past 3 seasons made it clear that his body simply cannot sustain the physical demands of being a reliable, everyday NHL contributor in a contending lineup? Kent Hughes has built this organization on honest, unsentimental evaluation of assets and futures. He has shown repeatedly that he will make difficult decisions when the data and the logic point clearly in one direction, even when those decisions generate short-term criticism from a passionate fan base that becomes emotionally attached to the players wearing the blue, blanc, et rouge. The Dach situation is not resolved. The contract is signed. Training camp is approaching and the season will begin. But the trade market remains open, and Edmonton's interest, amplified now by public analyst commentary and the emotional hook of the Dach brothers' hometown connection, ensures that this story will not quietly disappear. So, Habs Nation, the question falls to you. Should Kent Hughes answer Edmonton's call? Convert Kirby Dach into future assets and trust the pipeline to produce the next generation of center depth? Or does Montreal hold on, bet on health, and see whether a fully healthy Dach can finally deliver on the enormous promise that made him a top 3 pick in the first place? Drop your takes in the comments below, because this debate is one of the most genuinely divisive roster decisions the Canadiens have faced in years. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay locked in because the off-season drama surrounding this team has absolutely no intention of slowing down. We are in this together, Habs Nation, through every twist, every trade rumor, and every moment of this relentless pursuit of glory. Go Habs go!